Conditions are treacherous in many parts, with lorries jackknifing and vehicles stranded. The weather has also caused significant problems across the public transport network, with scores of flights suspended or cancelled, ferry services disrupted, and problems on the railways too. We have comprehensive coverage from around the country. First, let's go to Rachel Stewart in Aberdeenshire. Rachel, a difficult day for many.
Yes, I think many people woke up this morning expecting the worst. Did they get it? Well, certainly many places across the country have been badly affected. Even here in Aberdeenshire, we've seen bitterly cold temperatures and whiteout conditions, especially in the more rural areas. Yes, we were well warned, but it's still been a day of disruption for thousands across Scotland. Picture postcard 1 minute, disruptive and dangerous the next. Large parts of the country were already on amber alert. This afternoon, for the first time in Scotland, the Met Office has upgraded that to red, warning people in Tayside, Fife and the Central Belt that the snow could pose a risk to life.
Extremely concerned, of course. I said yesterday that we were on the cusp of a red warning. The Met Office have now issued that. It is the highest level of intensity, the highest level of warning.
Everybody this morning.
For many, a sense of resilience that they'll cope with whatever the weather has in store.
We live with this.
It's just what we do.
This is life. You know, once the wind starts and the rain comes down and the snow falls, then you have to put up with it.
It's just snow. It's frustrating with the travelling, but I live in town, I can walk to work, so just get on with it.
I think we're going to get a big hit, but we're checking that all the old people are all looked after and that people are making sure they've got supplies and stuff like that, so we're looking out for one another.
Tonight, another ominous picture with more grave warnings that there could be worse to come.
And Rachel, the disruption continues.
Yes, in fact, across the country, public transport has really struggled today. We've seen delays on flights, ferries, the railways, buses, and of course for motorists too. And tonight, all BA and Flybe flights in and out of Aberdeen have been cancelled until further notice. We keep hearing this message. It's the same message we're hearing again tonight. In the worst affected areas, only travel if you absolutely have to.
Indeed, Rachel, thank you. Well, the red alert warning is being closely watched across the country, including at the nation's Transport Control Centre. Our reporter, Kay Nicholson, is there this evening. Kay, motorists being strongly advised not to travel tonight.
Yeah, so as you can see in the screens behind me, there are treacherous conditions on trunk roads across Scotland. Across just the bridges here, there are 3 bridges that we can't see anymore because they're completely invisible now. The snow is really coming in and the weather is closing in. And here to tell me more about what this means for the roads overnight and this red warning is Steen Connolly from Traffic Scotland. Steen, thank you for joining us.
Hi.
So what does this mean in the next few hours?
Well, at the moment we're getting blizzard conditions, we're dropping temperatures, we've got the red warning right through the central belt, but we've still got this amber warning which takes you all the way up the east coast, right up Aberdeen and across to Inverness, and that's the same message. We're saying it just now, it's right on there to 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Avoid travel. We're seeing people out there, they're getting stranded just now, they're getting stuck for hours because they're out there in this red warning. It's the same message with the red, or this high amber that's out there just now. We're asking people, avoid travel. We don't want anybody to go out there tomorrow morning and get stuck in this, because it is blizzard conditions and it's going to remain right through the night.
And how are the roads looking at the moment? It is kind of rush hour time. Have people heeded the warnings?
Well, this morning people did heed the warning with less traffic on the road. Then the red came in, and we asked people to go home early, but that was people that we didn't want the road in the first place. We were given the warning for the day before, avoid travel. People still went out there and they got stuck. Now, the amber warning, we were saying avoid travel is a high risk of disruption. And if you go out there, you've got a risk of being stuck. And with that being stuck, you're putting yourself at risk and you're putting others at risk. And then what we're doing is we're getting our gritters out there to tow people away and get them moving again. So we're putting people at risk with this.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight, and all the best for the traffic as it goes on tonight. Well, that strong message there is just across the whole of Scotland. Travellers need to be watching on the safe side and drive safely if they do need to go out. But the overall message is strong. Stay safe and don't travel.
Okay, thank you. Meanwhile, snowplough crews across the country have been fighting a relentless battle against the worst that the storm could bring. Drivers in Perthshire have one of the biggest areas to cover, and we're clear that today's weather and what's to come is the worst since 2010. Our reporter Craig Miller joined them.
They were out early to try and tame the beast from the east. From 5 this morning, a fleet of gritters and snowplows were on the road in Perthshire to try and clear the roads. Around 4 inches of snow had fallen overnight.
I think we're having a proper winter this year. Last year it was reasonably mild, but yeah, at least we're getting a bit of snow this year, and it keeps everybody busy.
If the roads around Blairgowrie were easily accessible, the main one heading north was a different challenge altogether. The A93 leads to Braemar and the ski slopes at Glenshee. Peter McGinn is used to snow, but this wasn't an average day.
Well, it's definitely coming bad anyway today. It's the worst it's been, I think, since 2010, 2011, with the snow and the drifting anyway, up to now anyway.
And drifting snow was one of the problems. Well, the snow gates here at the Spittal of Glenshee are closed. It could be that the authorities will bring in a snow cutter to clear the road behind me, but because of the drifting snow, they're very much up against it.
If the winds do drop and the snow stops, we'll maybe manage to get the snow cutter through to try and clear it, but I think if it continues like this with the snow showers coming in, the high winds, I think it'd be better maybe to leave it closed during the day and overnight and try again tomorrow morning.
They were making valiant efforts, but it was like whistling into the wind. The UK experienced bad winters in 1947, 1963, and of course much more recently in 2010, but these were sustained periods of bad weather. The beast from the east should be over a lot more quickly, but it's nasty and it's baring its teeth. The unsung heroes amongst the road crews will continue to take it on, but they'll have their work cut out. Craig Miller, STV News, Perthshire.
The Prime Minister says the UK cannot sign up to an EU proposal on the Irish border. At Prime Minister's questions, she rejected the option of a common regulatory area keeping Northern Ireland in a customs union. At Holyrood, the Lord Advocate rejected the presiding officer's...
No.
Confidence in Scottish businesses is rising, according to a new report from the Bank of Scotland.
Well, I am anyway.
Optimism as confidence levels grew by 17 points.
At least we get to watch telly. Please stay.
Come on the programme, we'll have more on the weather, and of course Sean has the latest.
Of course, we've got that amber weather warning covering much of the east of the country, and then we've got the red warning covering central areas until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Dangerous weather conditions in some spots tonight, drifting off that signal, a significant wind chill. Stay tuned for that forecast a wee bit later in the programme.
Time for more local news. I'll have the stories for the north, and in Dundee, it's Louise Curry.
Good evening. A Dundee tyre factory worker who was sacked after attending a gin festival while on sick leave has won his unfair dismissal claim. Stan Reid went to the event during time off following the deaths of 3 close friends last February. A judge has ruled his treatment was shockingly unfair.
It was a very stressful time. Your mind's all over the place. You're not sleeping. I really can't put it into words how low I was feeling at a point.
A year ago, Stan Reid was coordinating searches for his best friend's son who had fallen from Arbroath Cliffs. Hours later, at a vigil for Ralph Smith, another 2 of his friends, Julie McCash and David Sorry, were stabbed to death. Following the tragedies, the 41-year-old took sick leave from Michelin, where he'd worked for 13 years. While off, he was tagged on social media at a gin tasting and subsequently dismissed for gross misconduct.
Their tunnel vision was, as 2 of the managers said, I should have stayed at home and stayed in my bed, even though I was in a stressful situation. But they were creating a more stressful situation by your job's under threat here, your livelihood's under threat. The doctor told me going to Glasgow was the right thing. You're meant to get out of the house, get to a happy place, mix yourself with people that make you happy. If I had a cold, if I had a broken leg, if I had a broken arm, a headache, yeah, I'll stay in the house. I'll do this, I'll do things around the house. But no, different illnesses need different remedies. When I should have been getting an arm around me, brought back into the workplace, wasn't supportive in the slightest.
He took the tyre manufacturer to an employment tribunal and has won his unfair dismissal claim, as well as almost £30,000 in damages.
This was the worst moment in Stan's life, and he was kicked when he was down. They're a massive employer. They've got huge resources in order to support their employees, and they failed him on every possible level. The judgment reflects that. It's one of the most damning judgments that I've ever seen in the 10 years that I've been practicing employment law. Something quite unique in this case, which I've never seen or none of my colleagues have ever seen, is the fact that the judge has said he's considering imposing a £5,000 fine against Michelin for aggravated breaches of his employment rights. So, yeah, it speaks volumes.
Michelin say they will use the judge's findings to inform an examination of the relevant procedures they currently have in place.
Together we will destroy the resistance and the last Jedi.
Ball 2 locked. Toys R Us and Maplin are both set to close at the city's Kingsway West retail park. The troubled toy company, which has 11 stores in Scotland,
Go to Jakku. Seek and capture resistance members.
Understood. They are under threat at the electrical exchange.
You'd better hurry. Crush the resistance. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You missed it. Jackpot. The resistance must be crushed. 4, 3, 2, 1.
But we're not in EU, so why should we have to do that?
Have high emissions.
Oh? Not in EU anymore.
Quality now. There are low emission buses and cars. We need to try and move towards those if we're going to get.
But we're going to follow Germany. Have you heard what Germany's done? Ban diesel.
Levels of air pollution reduced.
Now, the Scotch Whisky Association is predicting a strong year for whisky tourism.
completed. Evasive maneuver.
Don't fail me this time. Another failure will not be tolerated.
On tonight's program, we'll have the latest on the extreme weather as sub-zero temperatures create havoc across the country and beyond. Plus, thousands of jobs are at risk after Toys R Us and Maplin fought fire demonstration.
You will not escape.
Live tonight at 7 on STV2.
We're taking you into custody.
Prepare for docking shift. The lock is lit.
Evasive maneuver.
Fail me this time. Another failure will not be tolerated. No one will stand in our way. No one.
Snowy scenes outside Parkhead earlier on where the were due to take Celtic. That's been postponed, as has Aberdeen's date at Motherwell.
I need all regular reports immediately.
Well, there was some Scottish Premiership action last night. Stephanie Daly kicks off a roundup with St Johnstone, who were thrashed 4-1 by Rangers.
Having beaten Rangers at Ibrox in December, St Johnstone were hoping to do the same at McDermott Park last night, but it was the visitors who took the lead after just 12 minutes. Alfredo Morelos was brought down by Alan Mannis in the box. James Tavernier did the rest from the penalty spot. Rangers doubled their advantage midway through the first half through Josh Windass. And Saints found themselves 3 down at the break, Sean Goss getting his name on the score sheet with this fine free kick. Saints' woes continued shortly after the interval as Morelos nodded in a 4th Rangers goal.
Suppress the flame with a single shot or hit the track
Saints did
beneath.
pull one back through Jason Kerr. In the end it finished 4-1, a result which sees Rangers cut the gap on leaders Celtic to 6 points. Elsewhere last night, Eamon Brophy gave Kilmarnock an early lead at Tynecastle. Naismith got the leveller and his first goal for Hearts in the 27th minute. The hosts blew a chance to win at the death, with Jamie McDonald saving a stoppage time Kyle Lafferty spot kick. Stephanie Daly, STV News.
Scotland Rugby Vice-Captain Ryan Wilson's free to face Ireland after being cleared of foul play against England. Meanwhile, the Six Nations say they'll take no action. Tunnel fracas before last weekend.
What have you done?
This is the moment Ryan Wilson's fingers made contact close to the eye of England's Nathan Hughes. The back row today pleaded its case to a Six Nations disciplinary committee and, despite being found guilty of foul play, was told he won't face a ban. The hearing concluded that the player did not intend the contact and that it was light and fleeting, therefore not meriting a retrospective red card. Earlier, the Six Nations also revealed no action will be taken against England or Scotland for the tunnel area bust-up prior to Saturday's Calcutta Cup. Footage appeared to show Wilson and Owen Farrell involved. The tournament organisers have reminded both teams of their responsibilities in future. The feel-good factor from Scotland's victory continues to roll, and Tim Swinson, recently returned from injury, hopes they can stay in the chase for the title.
Can't really describe it in words. It's one of my favourite rugby moment at the moment, so that's pretty fantastic thing to have. Numerically, we're
Extra ball is lit.
it's able for us to do it, but we've got to put in a lot of effort. Like we're playing Ireland and Italy the next 2 games. Ireland so far in Italy, although they haven't had any luck this year, they are still a very good and confident side, so it's nothing for granted, especially this championship, so we're really disappointed in playing for the best we can.
Meanwhile, Glasgow Warriors match away to Ulster is just called off due to the snow. Edinburgh Rugby will make a decision tomorrow whether their game against Munster at Murrayfield will go ahead. Amy Borthwick, STV News.
A nice flow to a run and a perfectly clean finish. So refreshing to see on STV Sports. Domestic bathrooms.
Now then.
Back to the weather, well, the full scale of the site being strong is perhaps best seen from the air with the country covered in snow. Up the journey from Perthshire across the central belt today, though was thwarted by snow squalls, as Lynn Rankin reports.
taking off from Perth and the snow-topped hills above the River Tay. As we travelled north, the rail lines below were deserted, the roads unusually quiet. The A9, usually nose to tail with traffic, was virtually empty. A strong indication that people were taking the advice not to drive. Plans to fly south towards Glasgow were impossible, thanks to a thick curtain of snow blocking our path. A red weather warning has now been issued by the Met Office, which is rare. The advice is not to travel, but the best and safest way seems to be from the air. The scene from the skies is one of spectacular beauty, but down on the ground it's a very different picture, where the beast from the east is now biting the most in the west.
There's quite a big band of weather moving through the central belt. So that's really causing problems. We can't get into Glasgow, for instance. The airfield at the moment is closed to traffic due to the weather. They've got 1,100 metres visibility and 300-foot cloud base and fairly low temperatures, -3.
As the sky grew heavy, the snow swept in, and with conditions set to worsen across the central belt tonight and tomorrow, Scotland's thick blanket of snow seems set to stay. Lynn Rankin, STV News, in the skies above Perthshire.
While outside of Scotland's major cities, it's the remote and rural communities that are often hit hardest when the snow falls. This is where community spirit makes a difference for those living off the beaten tracks. Well, we can join our reporter Chris Harvey, who's out in one such community. Chris.
The pavements and the roads around here any less treacherous. What it does mean, though, is they look after their neighbours. For a community that endured Storm Frank just over 2 years ago, there's not much that'll faze the residents of Ballater on Royal Deeside. Certainly not a little bit of snow. But while they're a hardy bunch, the flood fostered a community spirit that comes to the fore at times like this. From keeping elderly neighbours' pavements clear.
So that's what I've been doing this morning. I've done 8 people so far. I've got another 2 more to do, and clearing the snow. And we all get together. You know, it's nothing organised, but we just look after everybody here because it's such a small community.
To the community nurse, checking on those at home alone in the snow.
Just been up to Bramar and doing some nursing visits.
And are you just making sure that taking people on venturing out today, you're making sure that there's no indoors?
Yeah, that's right, yeah, just the essentials and emergency visits and things that we're doing.
The shops were quiet today, but Ballater locals had planned ahead.
The last couple of days they came in and bought stuff and they're stocking up for the next couple of days and getting food ready. But it's just used to it now. It's the older people as well. They're taking care of themselves.
We're kind of used to it here. We're prepared. Everybody's always very helpful in the village. It's all a village community. Everybody helps one another.
This family on holiday from Essex missed the snow at home, but are enjoying the beauty of Ballater.
By the time we get back, it'll be gone.
We hope.
If we get back.
If we get back. So it's looking like
we go. No, we think this is lovely.
It's very pretty.
It's absolutely lovely. It's had some lovely low-level walks.
Yeah.
But for an area that thrives on tourism, there was disappointment today that the snow gates to Glenshee Ski Resort were shut. Well, they are hoping to be opened tomorrow. And to be fair to Aberdeenshire Council, I've seen gritters and snowplows up and down the A93 throughout the day. In fact, one just drove past me now this evening. There's plenty of snow here at the moment. It's -7 currently. The snow's just beginning to fall again. There may be an amber warning. It's white here now. It'll be white here tomorrow.
Chris, thank you very much. And the snow affecting our sound there for a bit too. Now here's Sean with the latest.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
A very good evening to you. Of course, we've got severe weather for many parts out there across eastern and central parts, but it's in central areas across much of Fife and just south of Perth where we've got that red warning out for drifting snow. This really is quite a life-threatening situation, so for those of you living in that red area, please stay indoors. Don't head out unless you really have to. That red warning goes out until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. There will be a significant wind chill, and there's a high likelihood that some areas could be completely cut off by that snow, and that could give us disruption in the following days as well. And we've got that amber weather warning out in eastern areas. We could see about 10 to 15 centimetres from the snow showers here, but in that red area, as much as 20 or 30 centimetres lying on the ground by tomorrow morning, and in the odd spot, as much as 40, and also, of course, some quite big drifts developing in places in that strong wind. In the west of the country, we always get the best of the drier weather, so a lot of dry weather here tonight with clear spells. Those showers continuing to affect northern and eastern parts tomorrow, again perhaps merging into longer spells. Snow at times, a significant wind chill, so again feeling extremely cold out there, especially on the east coast of west. We see the best of the drier and sunnier weather, but still a significant wind chill too. On Friday, a lot of cloud and outbreaks of snow for many parts of the country, and it looks as if in the east that will continue on and off through the weekend as well. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And that's where we have to leave it for this Wednesday evening. I'll be here with an update during Scotland tonight around 5 to 11. There's plenty more on the weather and lots of pictures on our website. From everybody here though, stay warm and have a very good evening.
For news and more 24 hours a day, download the STV News app.
Regular reports immediately.
Suppress the flame with a single shot, or hit the track to be...
Ball captured. Bring it to me.
Suppress the flame with a single shot, or hit the tractor beam.
Lock that ball. Now.
Track them. They may come around for another pass. Move to attack position. Get the turbo lasers ready. Great shooting.
Ball 2 locked.
Suppress the flame with a single shot, or hit the tractor beam.
It's its first ever red alert for snow. All flights from Glasgow are grounded and people are told to get home to keep safe. More fierce freezing weather swept in today as fears grow for the vulnerable.
Freezing, terrible. I couldn't sleep frightened in case I died through the cold.
Also tonight, 5,500 jobs at risk as two big names on the high street collapse.
Will you or the EU back down?
Theresa May flatly rejects Brussels' plan for a post-Brexit Northern Ireland. And striking sculptures remembering the Tommies who didn't make it home from the First World War.
This is the ITV Evening News with Alistair Stewart.
Good evening. The warning was official and couldn't be clearer. Lives in parts of Scotland are now in danger. as the Siberian weather gripping the country deteriorates. For only the second time ever, the Met Office has issued its most serious red warning for snow over central Scotland. It warns of widespread damage, atrocious travel conditions, and that threat to life. People are warned to stay inside, with worse forecasts for tonight and tomorrow morning. In a moment, Damon Green on the impact across the UK, but first, here's our Scotland correspondent, Peter Smith.
This was dubbed the Beast from the East, and it is now roaring over Scotland. People here are well used to dealing with severe winter weather, but this is the country's first ever red warning for snow, the highest possible alert, meaning there is now a threat to life. It was a jackknifed lorry on the main route between Scotland and England that brought traffic on the borders to a complete standstill. And snowplows on the runways of Glasgow Airport fought a losing battle. All flights are cancelled. The Red Cross has handed in blankets for passengers stranded overnight. One charity in Glasgow that takes meals to vulnerable people in the city was forced to cancel all deliveries, bringing in a 4x4 so they could reach emergency cases.
And this is the most extreme we've had. We've never had to actually cancel a service. I had one lady who we're going to visit just now who was extremely distressed, has no food, and not only that, but has actually got no money for her electricity meter. We've got your bread, we've got your milk.
This lady was alone in a cold flat. She now has food and money to turn the heating on.
It was a godsend when they said that they would put me on the emergency list.
To come with food and,
yes.
And money for electricity?
Yes.
So this means you can put your heating on now?
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
Oh, everything.
The red weather warning covers Scotland's two biggest and most populous cities, Glasgow and Edinburgh. But it's also hit rural areas, and it's not just people looking for shelter. The advice is to stay indoors until 10 tomorrow morning.
We want to maintain a safe operation on the road network, and we rely on the people out there to take heed of the warning so that that can remain that way.
But these drivers were trying in vain to get home. The road here is the busiest route from Glasgow to Edinburgh, but as you can see, the snow is causing havoc. Emergency vehicles are struggling to get through, the lanes are covered with snow, and there are lorries causing tailbacks. The M8 is at a complete gridlock. This weather travelled from Russia. Snow from Red Square now creating a red alert, while Scotland is draped in white. And the forecast says this is just the beginning. Peter Smith, ITV News, Glasgow.
The cold arrived again from the east overnight, in London and the south, and all the way to the Scottish border. The freezing clouds came, and all they left behind was a covering of snow. But in the northeast of England, the snow persisted, falling heavily in sub-zero temperatures, with the wind fierce enough to chill anyone caught outside. For those who live on the streets, the ice is more than an inconvenience, it's a danger to life. This man sleeps rough on the streets of Leeds. Last night he was afraid to close his eyes.
Absolutely freezing, terrible. I couldn't sleep for frightened in case I died through the cold. It's scary really because I'm on my own with the dog and you just don't know what's going to happen, you know.
In Gateshead, the snow fell, melted, froze again in the wind, and in places the sheet ice made it impossible to move, except with the help of volunteers ready to lend a hand.
It snowed overnight, started to melt a bit, then it's iced over again, and then more snow.
So what do people need to do?
If they don't need to drive, don't come. Don't come out of it. It's as simple as that. Do not. This is bedlam, look. You can just look around you.
Across the north, the heavy snow meant problems for anyone trying to get about, and in many places the only answer was to stay inside and not go out at all. In the Northumberland market town of Hexham, the snow came and the shoppers stayed away. Streets almost deserted. Many small businesses simply didn't open their doors. There were few who were determined not to be beaten by the weather.
That's what we do. We've always done it for 23 years. We've been here for 23 years, and we do it. That's what we do.
At the coast, the view eastwards remains bleak. The winds that brought the snow continue to send huge waves crashing on the shore. And the grey skies that follow them, a sign that however much snow has already arrived from that direction, there is still more to be endured.
Well, it's -4 degrees here in Northumberland at the moment. The snow may stop and start, but the cold weather that's brought it is here to stay, and indeed to stay for longer than anyone originally anticipated. Those severe weather warnings which are across the north of England and Scotland have been extended now until Saturday rather than Friday. And Public Health England have now intervened. They're telling people, especially those with health problems, to make sure that they have enough food and particularly enough medicine to last until this cold weather is over.
Damon, thank you. And a reminder that there's a full weather forecast after this programme, and we have all of the latest weather and travel advice online at itv.com/news. More than 5,000 jobs are at risk after two more famous names in the British shopping sector, Toys R Us and Maplin, collapsed today. Analysts say both have become outdated and suffered from the relentless rise of online shopping. Our business editor Joel Hills has more on the latest victims of the retail revolution.
Two household names, both of them are bust. Toys R Us and Maplin are the latest victims of the upheaval on the high street. For now, Toys R Us stores remain open, staff are still in work, an administrator has been appointed to find a buyer for the loss-making company, but he doesn't sound very confident.
I think it would be dishonest to say it was going to be easy and we will be lucky to get a sale for part of the business. But we certainly wouldn't be able to sell the business as a whole, but we hope there may be some interest in some of the units.
This store in South London is already due to shut. What stock is left is being flogged at a discount. Christmas was tough for all retailers, but some feel Toys R Us has only itself to blame for failure.
They've been a victim of complacency. They haven't invested online, where 40% of toy sales now take place, and they've neglected their stores.
The decline in Toys R Us's fortunes has been spectacular. 10 years ago, it and Argos were the biggest names in toys. But while Argos has largely held on to its market share, Toys R Us has lost business to its rivals. Not all of them online. Amazon did steal sales, but so too has Smith's, a traditional high street retailer. Unless a buyer can be found quickly, the 105 Toys R Us stores will begin to close in the weeks to come, with a loss of up to 3,000 jobs. Today, Maplin too admitted it is insolvent. The electrical...
Skeletons are coming! Let's get out of here!
so soon? Ball locked. Multi-ball! Magnificent! Splendid! Jackpot!
We've discovered a shortcut. The secret passage may save you.
Leaving so soon? Welcome to the sorcerers' lair.
I don't see Whisper and... anywhere. There you are, Whisper.
Extra ball is lit. Extra ball! So soon? Come back.
Where could Whisper be?
You are not welcome here.
What's that? These ghosts are in the way.
Splendid! Extra ball is lit. Super combo!
Now I will get through you, whatever it takes.
Magnificent!
Whisper is here. That tree is stronger than it looks. Leave him alone. I want to play with them.
Extra ball!
Come and catch me. Let's play tag.
wintry week of weather with a seriously high wind chill, unbearably cold as the week wears on with yet more snow. Heavy snow and blizzard conditions will give a severe situation for some of us in the coming 24 hours or more. We continue to see some unusually cold air pounding its way in from the east, but the focus switches to the south as this low pressure system travels its way up from the western side of Europe. It'll give a new episode of snow across the south, the southwest and Wales into the latter stages of tomorrow. Gale force winds, blizzards and freezing rain will mean icy surfaces. In the next few hours, the serious situation continues through parts of central Scotland where a red warning remains. Heavy, persistent snow and blizzards here. A really severe setup as we go into the early hours and tomorrow morning, and further heavy snow on and off through parts of the northeast. Here, blowing snow and blizzards into a new day. For all of us, temperatures widely below freezing, as low as -12 in places once more. Frozen ground with a deep frost, and any compacted snow and slush will freeze to give widespread, slippy, icy surfaces. Into tomorrow, further snow blowing its way in on gusty, gale force winds from east to west across much of northern Britain and Northern Ireland. The situation showing little let up, and then further south, much more in the way of cloud cover and fresh falls of snow through the Midlands, southern England and Wales. Temperatures not much above -2 and -3, and with that crazy wind chill, it'll remain painfully cold, not much above -10 if you factor in those winds through the course of the afternoon. Heavy snow expected into the south and Wales through the latter stages of tomorrow. Blizzards and widespread ice to come. I'll see you soon.